is Oscar, and well, this is it's quite weird for me to be doing a YouTube video, but especially being on camera. It's kind of a bit weird for me. Apologies for I like it's weird how your voice changes when you're speaking to the camera. You're fucking nervous. Um, yeah, apologies for the bad lighting. Well, it's not bad lighting. It's not as cozy as I'd like. And I'm gonna be all over the place, but just kind of wanted to talk about the film that I watched the other day called Husbands. Came out in 1970, directed by John Cassavetes, and well, first of all, I should say this is going to be all over the place. I'm going to go off on tangents. I'm going to either sit in silence for 5 minutes trying to figure out what to say. Yeah, I started to try and make some notes in my notepad, but I couldn't be bothered. I thought I'll freeball it, but I did write down like three things. So yeah. Um, so yeah, mentioned I want to talk about the film Husbands by John Cassavetes. Like I said, saw the other day, and I've always kind of wanted to explore talking about film on YouTube because I mean, any social media platform, but especially YouTube is such a interesting space for film talk. Um, I always kind of wanted to talk about films, but I thought, you know what, I'll do on Husbands. I have quite a few thoughts. I hope I can translate. Well, not translate, get across to you guys in this video. Um, I think so. I'll give a quick introduction to. So when you hear Husbands, maybe some of you haven't heard of it, and maybe some of you have. But the reason why I watched it is that name, John Cassavetes. He stars in it alongside Peter Falk and Ben Gazara, and he directs and writes it. And kind of being in the film space, you hear that name John Cassavetes a lot. Mainly attached to A Woman Under the Influence, being this very kind of monumental film, which I haven't got around to watching, but I eventually will, of course. And you just hear that name John Cassavetes pop up quite a lot in the film talk, the film kind of space. So yeah, I mean, I kind of thought, you know what, see what this John bloke's about. Didn't really know what to expect with any of his films. Didn't really know he was known for his kind of unscripted um, approach to his films and them being quite, almost documentary style. And I kind of had the idea they were maybe more on the indie side of things, well, independent filmmaking, and being quite popular. Well, not popular, but mainstream when it comes to independent filmmaking. So I thought, you know what, I'll give one of his films a watch. I think about, doesn't matter how long ago it was, maybe a few months ago, I watched The Killing of a Chinese Bookie. And I didn't really know what to expect going into the film. Didn't really know what it was about, besides that a Chinese bookie was going to be killed. Um, I didn't really know who Ben Gazara was. When I, touched him up, saw that he was in The Big Lebowski. I was like, oh, I kind of remember the face. And I thought I didn't really know what to expect. And to be completely honest, I wasn't disappointed, but it was kind of like, it's not what you're used to, so you're a bit taken aback. And I wasn't let down. I was just not really up for it, I guess is the word. It was a bit yeah, just wasn't up for it. I don't think that is to say the film doesn't have its faults, which might be a bit unpopular for me to say, but I think some of the so, anyway, this film's about husbands. This video is about husbands. Um, which yeah, I mean, going back onto Husbands, like I mentioned earlier, it's got Peter Falk in it. It's got Ben Gazara, who's also in a Killing of a Chinese Bookie, and the main man himself, John Cassavetes, and I think they've collaborated quite a lot. I know Peter Falk was good friends with him in real life. Um, After I watched Husbands, I watched the interview with Dick. What's his name? He was an American host, Dick Cavett show, and that was fantastic. It almost felt like that should be part of the film as well. They were just clearly drunk out of their minds and just really, really funny. But yeah, the film itself is about this group of four friends um, who have been very good friends since school, presumably, and they all live near each other. Their wives know each other, their kids know each other, etc. But we start with this really, really, really nice photo montage at the start of the film, in which you see it's like I think it's a series of maybe like photographs of just like a house barbecue, um, where the main guys, the group of four, are just having a good time, and there's really nice music over it, and the way it's edited is just great. And then you cut to one of the four friends' funeral, so now they're only down to three, and you go to this funeral. Ben Gazara, Peter Falk, and John Cassavetes are the three remaining friends, and they decide to go on a pretty much 2 day bender where they go around New York, go to the gym, play basketball while smoking. Then they go to a bar and get fucking smashed and do a very uncomfortable singing contest. But I'll backtrack actually before they go to the bar and have a singing contest and get plastered. They kind of just strolled around New York City, being like insanely obnoxious, but you can't help but kind of love it at the beginning. They're really fun to watch. The chemistry is just unmatched. You can tell these guys just get along in real life, or well, maybe not even get along. They just work. They just work really, really well together. And they're kind of rolling around New York. They're on their subway. There's this really cool subway scene where they're just on the subway. I think they've probably had a little bit to drink. They're smoking their cigarettes. They're just talking, and they think they're getting off. And it's like, oh, we've got 40 more stops to go. And it's just these little things that really make you get to know this group of friends, or this reduced group of friends now. Um, and yeah, I mean they're yeah, they walk around New York, and eventually they end up at this bar where they are gone. They are completely smashed, and they are drinking beer in one gulp, getting it refilled, and back again. And they're sat around with this group of a few other people. We don't really know who they are, and I'm not sure if they really know who they are. I think that they're on name basis with these people, but they're not close, or they're not really, they're not close friends. They're not, what they have with each other. And they start doing this singing contest while really drunk, making a few jokes, having what seems a good time. But then Peter Falk, John Cassavetes, and Ben Gazara take it too far, and they just are berating these people in the bar. They're doing this singing contest. They're so up and down with their emotions. They're either in love with these women who are singing, kissing them, singing along, dancing with them, looking at them lovingly, or they are just shouting at them, degrading them, making them feel like the most uncomfortable person in the world. let alone that room. And then it could flip like that, like a switch, and they're happy again. They're singing. And this scene goes on, I think, for almost 15 minutes. I could be wrong, but it's a long time, and I've heard people critique that scene for maybe being a bit too long, and I can kind of see why maybe someone would say that, but it's John Cassavetes doing it on purpose. He wants us to feel uncomfortable, and he does a fantastic job at that, and you just feel really clammed up, and you just want to get out because it's really dark around everyone, and you can only really see the people sat at the table where they are singing, and you can just see behind them these like bartenders filling up their beer and stuff, and it just feels so encapsulated with smoke everywhere, and these people have only got like centimeters of space between each other, really claustrophobic, and it feels like people are just going to be jumping over the table and punching people, but with their kind of their aggression and their drunkenness and pain and grief from losing their friend. They're like these tyrants over these people who, if they say anything wrong, they won't necessarily get physically hurt. It's more they'll get berated to oblivion, pretty much. And they they do this very uncomfortable singing scene, and very the use of women. The use of women, that sounds very bad. The way women are treated in this film is key part of this film. Um, that John Cassavetes, I think he does quite a lot in this film to look at how women are treated, especially for the time the films were being made, like the 60s, 70s times. Um, and yeah, the woman treated in that bar scene was just awful. If it be a kind of inappropriate kissing and touching, and then just the language used towards them when they're very drunk, and like just shouting, "You're terrible! You're terrible! You're terrible!" when they're singing these songs. Um, and then after the scene of drunken singing contest, the three main guys are in the toilet. This very also crammed toilet for another about 15 minutes, just throwing up, and they're kind of still kind of drunk, throwing up. You're not yourself, kind of, or you're showing too much of yourself. Um, Phase where they're in this toilet and they're sitting down and they're all crammed, and so like Ben Gazara is knocking on the door constantly, and John Cassavetes, I mean, he knows it's happening, but he's not phased. He doesn't care. And I think even if you haven't maybe been in that exact state, you know what it's like. It's like when you it's like I actually had a well, maybe it's not a good analogy, but when like you're really young at your own birthday party, and there's the noise of this music coming out from like the fucking funky monkeys you're at, and then you go into the bathroom and it's just all subdued, and you get a moment to think, and you go, and then you go back out. That's a really bad analogy, not thinking about it, but anyway. Yeah, and this scene where they're in this bathroom, they start to, well, Ben Gazara starts to question their friendship. He gets a little offended. He's obviously taking it a bit harder than his two other friends. So I'm just going to have to take a sip of water. Wow, I've been talking for 14 minutes. Stay hydrated, take a sip of water. But yeah, Ben Gazara, he seems to be taking this a bit more difficult than his two other friends, and he kind of starts to question their friendship, specifically uh, Peter Falk. There you go, remember the actor's name. Peter Falk's feelings towards him, feeling that maybe Peter Falk isn't, you know, as friendly with Ben Gazara as he is with John Cassavetes. Which I think one thing I really took away from this film is a male friendship group. Obviously, I'm not I'm not as bad as these guys at all. I'm 18, so I don't treat the women they do in the films. I don't drink as much as them. I don't, you know. But what I'm trying to say is that kind of male experience of being with friends, or maybe could could be for women or any friendship group where you're not all on the same level of friendship or kind of love for each other. There's one maybe person you don't like as much as the other, or you feel that way someone feels about you. And I thought that was a part of this film that kind of I really liked and kind of separated from the 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 just the shit kind of people they were in this film that Grief did to them. But that's a little side note. See, I told you I was going to get a little bit sidetracked. But anyway, they leave the bar, um, and then Ben Gazara goes straight to work mode. He's like, "Are you guys not going to work?" And then they're like, I mean, I guess they want to, but they're not. So, like they're not straight back to it. They're not straight back to their normal lives of being husbands and working and having responsibility. But Ben Gazzara decides that he wants to go to London, and take a holiday there. And what comes is probably one of the most disturbing scenes in the film, where he goes to his home, to find that his wife and stepmom are there, and it's like you join this conflict that wasn't really, it hasn't been alluded to in the film past, but you understand it, and things aren't right between um, Ben Gazzara and his wife, in which where it turns into a very disgusting, brutal scene where she pulls a knife on him and he hits her and he's cursing her and his stepmother, and he is just completely out of control. Ben Gazzara, he's a broken man. You can tell things are not well with him at home with his wife. He's lost his friend. He's questioning his friendships with his two other friends that he has left. His work life didn't seem great because they had previously been to work. Or was it after? Either way, his life is not great. Ben Gazzara, it's all crumbling around him, kind of like, and he's almost like a midlife crisis as well, which comes later, I guess, if you want to put it into a physical kind of metaphor um, of his midlife crisis, or their midlife crisis. Is Sorry about that. Why did I say sorry? Either way, and yeah, and Ben Gazzara decides, getting his passport, he's going to go to London, and then they get a cab, they go back to the city, and yeah, the two others, John Cassavetes and Peter Falk. Well, John Cassavetes calls up his wife, kind of begrudgingly, not really wanting to, not knowing what she's going to say because he hasn't had any contact with her or his kids in 2 days, and he's saying, "Hi, hello, I'm okay. Do you think you could get my passport and Archie?" I can't remember Peter Falk's character's name, but Peter Falk's passport. So he doesn't have to call his wife, kind of, doing them a favor almost as they see it. Um, and she thankfully says yes. They get their passports and away they go to London. And when they arrive in London, fittingly, it is raining. It is raining as soon as they get there, the whole time they're there. And when they leave, it is just raining. They do no sightseeing. It's almost impossible to tell they're in London besides the English people they speak to. I think is very interesting. It's like, where no matter where you go, you can't escape for them their grief or their issues. They can't. And so what happens in London for these characters is they go to a casino, get drunk, of course, do a bit of gambling, but they try to pick up some women there, and they're going to commit an affair, essentially. All three of them on this trip to London. Um, Ben Gazara finds a girl that he wants to take back to his hotel. Peter Falk gets into this very uncomfortable exchange with a woman quite significantly older than him, who I don't want to. By no means this is a comment on her looks, but she's a very interesting looking lady with very 70s makeup or 60s, 70s makeup, and she's a lot older than him, and she is very much into the idea of sleeping with Peter Falk or doing something with Peter Falk straight away, and then he kind of gets back to himself that he's like, this is not almost that it's wrong that he's about to have an affair, but he's doing it with a lady so much older than him, and it's kind of like a snap back to reality of like I'm that desperate that I'm gonna cheat on my wife with someone that he deems less attractive, etc. Kind of showing the how much he wants or thinks he needs this affair to fill the void of of his life, of the loss of his friend. It's almost that's what I was talking about earlier. The how the midlife crisis is represented in a physical way of being these affairs with these women. All of them eventually, when they get back to their hotel, are a lot younger than them. You can kind of say maybe they're in their 20s, their late 20s or early 30s, and they all and then you look at the kind of way the night goes with the women they've picked up. I keep on doing this because I don't want to, I'm just going to say how it is. They pick up these these women from the casino, go back to the hotel. Ben Gazara proceeds to sleep and have a night of joy, I'm guessing, with this English girl he meets at the casino, and then we get more insight into what happens with Peter Fawkes and John Cassavetes' flings for the night. We see John Cassavetes kind of breaching the line, well, crossing the line of assault, pretty much. They're kind of wrestling there. He's tickling her, he's holding her down, she's laughing, but she's also quite serious by saying, get off me, get off me. She's laughing as well, so it's very uncomfortable because, well, what he should be doing is, not cheating on his wife, and B, letting her go. But then her uncertainty, well, what I was uncertain how she felt in that moment. It's just a very uncomfortable scene, and it's shot really well. John Cassavetes and the actress I unfortunately don't know the name of were fantastic in that scene, absolutely fantastic. But again, goes on for a long time and very uncomfortable. And then with Peter Falk's character, he's picked up again a young Asian lady who seems to not speak very much English at all, and they're sitting on his bed, and he's talking, and she's not. She's not talking. She can't really speak English, I'm guessing. And it turns very weird. I mean, they start to engage. They start to kiss, and then Peter Falk is very angry, very angry that she's giving him too much tongue, and he thinks he's been making turned like to an idiot of because she's giving him this much tongue, and he's just not very happy with this. And then we cut to the morning, and it's raining once again. John Cassavetes goes with his English fling to a nearby cafe to the hotel, where she now seems to be madly in love with John Cassavetes. You know, like she can't live without him, and she runs off wailing, and because he, you know, doesn't love her or whatever. It's a very strange thing of way she just switches, and now she's in love with John Cassavetes, and then she's now run away. And then Peter Falk's character is trying to convince. To be honest, I can't really remember, but what I kind of got from this is how much their grief has affected them from the loss of their friend and this kind of midlife crisis. They're both now in love with these two ladies that they've met, you know, the night before. Um, they both saying, and he's like, oh yeah, this John Peter Falk says, oh yeah, this he says Chinese girl because that's, you know, his ignorant thoughts on her and what he thinks she is, not knowing her true race or whatever. Besides the point, he says, oh yeah, this Chinese girl, I'm in love with her. I'm in love with her. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he's John Cassavetes is like, I'm in love as well with this English girl. And you're sitting there thinking, you've just met these ladies, and now you're in love with them. And we haven't seen Ben Gazara the morning after. And once they finally go in his room, there's 3 or 4 different women in there now. Ben Gazara happy as ever. You haven't seen him as happy in this film. And, you know, they open a bottle of champagne, and John and Peter are like, oh, it's time to go home. They've had enough of London. They want to go back. And he's decided that he wants to stay Ben Gazara, and they do a bit more singing, they do a bit more drinking in this hotel room for you know, long scene, but I guess shorter in comparison to the bar scene, etc. And that's it. It cuts to them in the hotel, I think, in the airport or in the plane. But Ben Gazzara is gone with the wind. It's almost like he's off the planet the Earth. Just the way they speak to each other, or the way they don't on the plane back, it's like they never went on a trip with him. And they get back to New York. They buy some gifts for their kids because they've been away for a while. Excuse me. And there's a scene outside their houses where they live right next to each other, Peter and John Cassavetes. And they start ruffling through the bags, trying to think, oh, you've got 2 teddy bears, I've got none, and they start exchanging gifts so they can give their kids the exact same gifts. And all this while, they're kind of ignoring the fact that they're back down. Well, they're not ignoring the fact. They know the fact that they're back down. They're 2 now. They've gone from 4 to 2 in the space of probably a week or 2 weeks maximum. And they don't really know what to do. They walk up their own drive, and Peter Falk, I can't remember the line, which is really bad of me, but he's what I kind of got from it, what he meant, what he said was, he was like, what we're going to do about him regarding Ben Gazara, or something like that. And I think what he meant, and so what they're going to do about them, so like as a collective, they both clearly aren't fulfilled with their lives. I mean, their grief didn't hit them as hard as Ben Gazara, you can tell, but they're not fulfilled in their lives. And I think they need each other some way, and then say, oh, just got an advert for the line of this video, which is my TV just with a white screen on YouTube. So that's great. It's a Muller advert. There you go, free advertising, Muller. I'll split an email soon. Anyway, they just go back to their lives, and there's this the ending scene of this film was probably one of my favorite things about it. It's John Cassavetes, which I actually learned just before recording this. It's his actual kids that come up to him, and he's like saying hello to them, and his daughter is crying, and there's this amazing shot where it just stays on her crying, and it's almost like his daughter has just become not only all the women in the film, but all the women kind of in that in the world, in that in that in that year. I think they shot this in '68, and then Paramount bought it, whatever the time period at the time, and it kind of felt like she was crying for all women. The women in the film, maybe not the women directly affected by characters in the film, but she's crying for all the women who've been affected this way. Um, and I think he kind of realizes, John Cassavetes, that not what he's done is, well, he knows what he's done is wrong, but he's realized what he's done is someone's daughter. Um, and he I'm not sure if he doesn't want a world where his daughter will experience this, but he's now decided that he's now realized, sorry, that either he's adding to this world where this could potentially happen to his daughter, and what he's done to the women in this film, which is awful. It's so hard to watch. It's really something, that ending scene, and then it ends with him going around the corner to go see his wife, and then cuts black. And there's something about that ending that really tied a knot in this film. Um, and this is so yeah, that's Husband. There you go. Um, that's not really how I thought I was gonna talk about this film. I haven't really decided if I'm gonna do some big fancy editing for this. I think I'll probably just have the poster up here. Although I have been swinging quite a lot, so that might not work. Either way, I'll have the poster up, or maybe some clips I'll cut in. But I probably won't keep this very well. Sorry, I will keep this quite low quality. I know I'm recording on my phone and I'm using my phone's microphone, so it's not the best. A very uninteresting background, although very cool DVD case, which I'm covering with my head, so that's great. But yeah, what I would have to say with Husbands is, and I guess I haven't really said if I liked the film, and I really did. I thought it was great. And what I've heard regarding Cassavetes films is they only get better with time, and the more like with time, but also how when you get older. And I mean, I'm very young. I'm 18 years old. Certainly haven't lived the experiences they have, especially being a husband and being parents and having careers, and which I think will probably, once I maybe am those things, will change how I see this film or how I relate to it. But looking at it from a filmmaking standpoint, from the writing point of view, the acting, everything encapsulated, I really enjoyed this film much more than I did Killing of a Chinese Bookie, which maybe I need to revisit eventually after I've watched a few more Cassavetes films, which are actually on YouTube, so you can give those a watch. But yeah, I think overall overall thoughts was that it's a very complex film with very interesting characters who don't necessarily um, reach change. They don't reach a change within themselves. Maybe it's more of a realization, and the changes to come. Or but what I think Cassavetes does with this film is try to make the audiences at the time change, especially the men, with how they treat the women in their lives and the women in the world. Um, but it has a lot to say about men's mental health as well, men's friendships, husbands, lots of things, and I think it was a very intriguing watch. And yeah, Cassavetes really had to take my hat off to you, mate. It was great. Um, but yeah, as I was saying, this is very, very disjointed. I'm sorry. This is talking about video editing, and then I was back talking about the film. But either way, I just want to say, if you've watched this, thank you very much. I've rambled for a very, very, very long amount of time, and I really am sorry if you've watched a lot of this because it is probably very uninteresting. And what I'm saying is probably nothing new to you or nothing you wouldn't know if you watched the film yourself, which is on YouTube. Give it a watch, form your own opinion. Um, so yeah, I also on Letterboxd. There you go, it's a little plug. And I'll put that in the description below. Um, if you're interested in following me on there. Um, I might do more of these types of videos where it's I can literally just put up a makeshift tripod and record myself speaking about a film or TV show or something that I want to talk about. I don't necessarily want to restrict myself to film, although I know if I don't really want to be successful on YouTube or garner that many views, but I understand that if I wanted to, I would have to maybe stay consistent within a medium or genre, etc. So with film, but I kind of just want to talk about things that I like, and that is film. So that is probably what I'll be talking about in the future anyway. But once again, thank you for watching. If you did, I don't blame you if you didn't. It was a probably very painful watch. Um, this might not even get posted because I probably look like a bit of a prat. But yeah, like I said, watch Husbands. It's on YouTube. Um, watch more. Just watch more films. Watch more films, please. Film is such a fantastic medium. Um, so yeah, please watch more films. Give us a follow on Letterboxd. And yeah, next time.